On August 21st, 2022, at about 1:45 a.m., Rochester police officers were called to the area of 162 Olean Street for the report of a person shot. When they arrived, they found 29-year-old James Hallenbeck near the sidewalk and quickly determined he was the victim of a homicide. Yesterday afternoon, 21-year-old Rajul Keaton was arrested by members of the Monroe County Sheriff's Department Warrant Squad and the United States Marshals Violent Felony Fugitive Task Force during a traffic stop on a sealed indictment warrant. That indictment was unsealed last evening in Monroe County Court, charging Keaton with murder in the second degree, robbery in the first degree, and robbery in the second degree for robbing and killing James Hallenbeck on August 21st, 2022. He is currently being held in the Monroe County Jail. His next court appearance is scheduled for Thursday at 2 p.m. in front of the Honorable Judge Argento. And for additional information, I'll hand it over to Captain Umbrino.
On Sunday, August 21st, 2022, at about 1:45 a.m., two people were walking the area of Olean Street and Coretta Scott Crossing when they observed a man on the ground bleeding. 911 was called and officers responded. Upon arrival, they found 29-year-old James Hallenbeck laying unresponsive near the sidewalk. He was dead from at least one gunshot wound to the neck, as well as blunt force trauma to the head and the body. Neighbors told investigators they had heard a gunshot about 15 minutes prior to that. James had no ID or bank cards on him, and he was not positively identified until the following morning. Detectives later learned his documents were stolen in the robbery. During the course of the investigation conducted by the Major Crimes Homicide detectives, the following facts were learned about that night. James enjoyed and often took late-night walks along the Genesee Riverbank, the neighborhood in which he lived. On the night of August 21st, 2022, as he was taking one of those walks, he passed by the Wheatley Library on Dr. Samuel McCree Way. There were at least two people in the library parking lot near a vehicle. One of those men was 21-year-old Rajul Keaton. When the men saw James, the decision was made that they were going to rob him. James was followed, and when near 162 Olean Street, the men approached, robbed, and shot him, leaving him dead near the sidewalk. After the murder, they fled in a vehicle. Since the evening of August 21st in 2022, Major Crimes Homicide detectives have been relentless in their investigative efforts. Detectives examined James's bank transactions. They learned that after his murder, the credit card had been used at an Indian reservation multiple times in Genesee County. They would ultimately learn that the individuals who used the card were not connected to the murder. There was nothing uncovered after investigating the credit cards that led to the identity of the suspects that robbed them and killed them. Over the next several years, homicide detectives Correa and Klein continued pushing forward. They enlisted the help of an officer assigned to light duty, who was Chris Shingleton, to review hundreds of hours of video from other parts of the city near where the murder occurred. As a result of their efforts, there were slight characteristics found on the vehicle used by the suspects. With the assistance of Monroe County crime analyst Carly Christ, they learned the vehicle used had actually been a vehicle that was stolen from St. Clair Street in late July of that year. The gun that was used to kill James was ultimately recovered during a separate investigation, and it was linked to multiple other violent crimes in the city of Rochester. In early November of this year, gathered during this investigation was presented to a Monroe County grand jury by the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. As a result of that presentation, a sealed indictment warrant was handed up late last week. We enlisted the help of the Sheriff's Department Warrant Squad as well as the U.S. Marshals Task Force, and they took Mr. Keaton into custody yesterday afternoon after a traffic stop. Last night, in front of Judge Argento, the indictment was unsealed and he was charged with murder second, robbery first, and robbery second. He's currently being held in the jail, and like the chief mentioned, his next court appearance is on Thursday at 2 p.m. in front of Judge Argento. A little bit about James. He graduated from Fairport High School and Roberts Wesleyan College. He loved to write and perform music and was a local metal musician. He was a lover of the outdoors. He enjoyed camping, hiking, and biking. He was beloved by his family and friends, most notably his mom, Carol and Steve, who are with us today. I would like to commend Carol and Steve for their patience, perseverance, and faith during this ordeal, which is by far the worst nightmare any parents ever have to go through. The investigators have relayed to me on countless occasions how incredible they have been throughout the last several years. You guys have provided the investigators with an incredible drive to be able to at least provide some answers for you as to what happened to your son on that night. So with that, Carol would like to say a few words.
We're grateful for the RPD Major Crimes Investigative Team responsible for tenaciously building this case from precious little evidence over the past 3 years and almost 3 months, finally putting this man behind bars and beginning the service of justice for our son's murder. I urge our state's lawmakers to readdress our bail reform laws that protect the criminal poor at the expense of the victim poor. Those laws kept this man out of jail through the Van Bortle burglary, child abuse, domestic menacing, and weapons charges. This entire community is safer today. Good work. I especially want to thank Investigator Matt Klein for staying in touch with me all this time, keeping me informed of this investigation as it progressed, yes, but also during those difficult months when it wasn't progressing. He never let me lose hope that this day would come. Thanks, Matt.
All right, we'll be able to take a few questions, answer as much as we can, but mind you that this is still an open case, as well as the court proceedings are now going. So we'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can. Anybody?
Frank, do you think he might be connected to any other homicide?
Still an ongoing investigation. This is still a very active and ongoing investigation. Like we said, we did recover the gun. Not going to say if he's connected to any of the other incidents that the gun was involved in. We're not going to comment much further on that right now.
The other individual in the parking lot that night, any idea on any leads on that suspect yet?
This is still a very active investigation. The investigators are still doing some work on it, and there is at least one additional suspect in this case. He knows who he is, and hopefully he's looking over his shoulder, because hopefully it's going to be in short order that we get him also.
Can you talk about that one officer, sir, who took that time to scour that hundreds of hours of video surveillance footage that, led to the ultimate, piece of the puzzle that might have helped connect this?
Sure. This was absolutely a team effort, and, we have, at various points, we have officers that are on light duty for one reason or another, and there was just so many hours of video that had to be gone through. And, Detectives Klein and Creed, they have other cases that have come in, obviously, since then. So they took the opportunity to get Officer Shingleton, who was on light duty, get him up into our office, and he did an unbelievable job in pouring through hours and hours and hours of video and just putting little pieces together that were critical to us being able to be up here today. And it's just, a shout out to him for taking advantage of the opportunity he had to work with us, and he really pulled through.
So, yeah, real quick, I apologize. So, Eric, one of the things I want to jump on that is, we're announcing the arrest of one person today. We're hopeful that this spurs conversations, because people don't commit crimes and murders and robberies in silos. People know that who's involved. There's people out there that know. And so knowing that we have one suspect in custody now and that they're safe from that suspect, hopefully this spurs conversations. Hopefully this spurs tips that come to us that could help us give us that information, enough information to charge any additional suspects are part of this. And so by putting this out as a press conference and soliciting the media's help on this that we've done in the past via Crime Stoppers, via interviews with different media folks, with the Hallenbeck family, we're hoping that somebody reaches out to us and says, hey, yeah, so-and-so was involved in this and has that information, reaches out to our major crimes detectives, that we can bring complete closure on this and wrap up the other suspects. So, again, encouraging anybody with information, please reach out to us, that hopefully this spurs memories of that night, spurs memories of conversations that people had, that we could hopefully work towards complete closure on this case.
Yeah, was the video the turning point, or was there some other evidence or event that led you to find the suspect?
There was certainly video at the library, and there was very limited video on Olean Street. And none of the video that we obtained from that specific area was ID quality video. It gave us a general idea of what happened. But we basically had to expand out from there. And this is where the hundreds of hours of other video surveillance review came into play. So the video from right there was somewhat valuable. It gave us an idea of what occurred, but it gave us other leads to follow. And we talk about it all the time, how important, video evidence is, and basically put a wide net around an area of the city. And because of some of the characteristics of the vehicle that we observed, we were able to find additional video that gave us a little bit more information on the car, a little bit more information on where it went, which we found more video, found more information on the car, so it kind of snowballed, if you will. But there was no one single piece of evidence here that cracked the case, if you will. It was a culmination of various little pieces that we were able to put together, the investigators were able to put together.
Did the suspects and the victim know each other?
No, it was a complete, James liked to take walks late at night, and, he often did that, and he was just doing that. And, these guys were sitting in the parking lot, they saw him walking by, and said, hey, let's go rob him. So there was zero connection, just a complete innocent victim going for a walk. Anything else?
That year was a relatively deadly year, 70-plus homicides probably in the city. How good does it feel to have this one kind of checked off, that you have one suspect, but you're looking for the other one?
Well, I can tell you it feels good to solve any murder and to take violent people off the streets, but I think this one, holds a little special place in the heart of the investigators that did it. I think it was because, he was truly a victim, minding his own business, doing something that we all do, just going for a walk. And, I think because Carol and Steve are such wonderful people, and they were so great to the investigators over the last 3 years, I certainly think this is one that they are going to remember for quite some time in their careers. Good?
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Get the Rochester First streaming app today for everything you love from News 8 On Demand, plus exclusive shows you won't see anywhere else. Search ROC and download for free on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV.